Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier. I am your host, Niall, and this is your weekly pro wrestling show. And we've got a great show ahead for you. For the next hour, we're going to be looking at Money in the Bank. We're going to be talking about AEW Collision. We're going to be talking about those new belts. Seems to be one getting unveiled nearly every show now. We'll get your thoughts on them. We've got some nice news stuff in there as well. We're going to take a look back in the week in history. A few events there. We'll do some notable birthdays. And we're going to be having a talk about the Undertaker One Dead Man show, something I've brought up before. And we're going to be looking at some video footage of Jeff Hardy. I'm sure if you're close to the wrestling scene and you're following it on a daily basis, you would have seen this footage. But I'd like to get your thoughts on it. It's absolutely disgraceful, I think. And this is coming from me, a guy who's a huge pro wrestling memorabilia and collector and all that kind of stuff. But to have the balls, what these guys do, is just, it's different level altogether. And it's absolutely disgusting. And they're lucky that it was a guy like Jeff Hardy, who's as nice as he is, or they probably would have been getting their asses kicked. But we'll have a look at the footage later. We'll get your thoughts on that. We'll get your thoughts on the new belts, what you're thinking on that. We'll get your thoughts on AEW Collision coming up this Saturday from Chicago. Are we going to see the start of the summer of Punk? Finally, the man is back, the cult of personality. Let's see what happens. We'll have a quick run through on the Money in the Bank card, get your thoughts on that. But before we start any of this, we always start with our trusted and loyal followers in the comments, the one Ian Richie Hodgins. How are you, my friend? What's the crack? Hope you're having a good day. Absolutely sweltering out there. Always guaranteed, if it's pro wrestling and we're in the house talking about it, this man is in the house, always with good comments and views and stuff like that. So great to have you in there, my friend. But before we start this show, of course, especially if you're Irish, you would have heard yesterday the sad passing of one Christy Dignam, the lead singer from Aslan. Very, very sad. This guy was legendary status in the Irish scene and around the world, with some fantastic songs and stuff like that, but really was a legend over a number of decades, paved the way really for the music scene that we find ourselves in Ireland today. Sadly passed away yesterday at the age of 63. Had been battling cancer, I think it was, and he was going through palliative care since January. Never easy. Never easy. I know his daughter Kira put up a post and stuff like that, but never easy for the family. When it gets to that stage where there's no hope and you're just passing time and prolonging as much as you can and making people comfortable. I went through it with my own mother and stuff like that, so I know how difficult it is. But very sad to lose another legend in Christy Dignam. 1960 to 2023. Rest in peace. Our thoughts and condolences from everyone at the podcast to the Dignam family, especially, I suppose, his daughter Kira at this very, very sad time and stuff like that. Always very, very difficult. But rest in peace, Christy Dignam. Your legendary status will live on in the music industry forever in Ireland and across the world. And we thought we'd put that up there just to begin with. Seems like at this stage we do a lot of these shows where we have to pay our respects to people who pass away. Of course, as well, we have to mention our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those victims from the knife crime in Nottingham, and the young man and the young girl who lost their lives as well, and also I think it was a caretaker as well who lost his life as well. So very, very sad for those three people as well in Nottingham. I just don't know what goes through people's minds to possess themselves to go and do that. Very, very sad. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to friends and families and anyone connected with the victims of such a horrible crime. Daz is in the house as well. Daz is my man on Twitter, always hitting me up with wrestling stuff. Love the conversation, stuff like that. Big up, Daz. Thanks for being on board as always, mate. Always around when there's pro wrestling to be spoke about. These are the guys who show up. These are the upper tier OGs who show up when pro wrestling is to be discussed. Right, let's start. We'll start with Money in the Bank. Starting to shape up to be a pretty good card. Really looking forward to Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Cody versus Dominic should be very interesting as well. But that Balor-Rollins match is an interesting one. 7 years in the making since that previous run that they had. Culminating obviously with Balor getting injured and having to surrender the belt, and then, as we know, Rollins later on a house show in Dublin popped a knee as well. doing a very simple move. I think he was in a match with Kane, I think it was, on the night when we were in Dublin, and he absolutely brutalised his knee as well. So it's interesting. Great to see both these guys back at the pinnacle of the business for the World Heavyweight Championship. Interesting to see how this pans out. We also know this week as well that Logan Paul has been sniffing around. He's on the way back and stuff like that as well. So is Logan Paul going to have something to do with its Money in the Bank card and stuff like that? It remains to be seen. It should be interesting as well. We have a stacked card for the actual Money in the Bank match itself there. The guys have all qualified now. That is set. But could Logan Paul get involved in that somehow? Interesting when you look at that Money in the Bank, the men's one, of course. We've no former world champion in it, and also no former winner of the Money in the Bank. So if all goes to plan, we should have potentially a new Money in the Bank winner, and potentially moving on to become a new world champion, pending on the cash in. So that's an interesting narrative in it. But this should be really, really good. I mean, when you've LA Knight in there, Ricochet, all these guys, Damian Priest, Shinsuke, Butch, and Escobar, these are going to be this is going to be excellent. This is really going to be excellent. The women's one is pretty stacked out as well. Still one place to be decided this week. I still don't know on that Daz. I have no idea where Seth v. Braun could happen. I'd say it's a while off at the moment. Miles off, I'd say, actually. But we shall see. No doubt Braun will be up fairly soon. But it's interesting to see, could Logan Paul get involved in this Money in the Bank match? And we've been talking about how this whole old territory system, but at a global level, has been occurring as well. Balor would be kind of the hometown guy on this Money in the Bank card and stuff like that, along with Butch as well. Butch is in there as well, as you know. Butch, formerly Pete Dunne from the UK, could have a big say in it as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this card pans out. Still plenty of stuff to be decided there. Still a place up for grabs in the women's one. It's going to be nice to see Becky in there with Bailey again as well. That's going to be really interesting, and Selena Vega and all the girls. So that's going to be excellent as well. So shaping up to be a pretty decent Money in the Bank card. Still a few bits to be bolted in there, I would imagine. Morris is in Cheap Heat Productions Podcast. Don't forget, folks, 9:15 tonight, you're going to find me on Cheap Heat Productions Podcast. I'm going to be on there. We're going to be talking to one Jamie Coleman. Should be a great interview on Morris's channel and stuff like that. I've known Jamie now probably 20 years at this stage, and we've been involved together in ticket sales and shows and promotions and merchandise and all sorts of stuff. So great lad, Jamie. So it'll be interesting to chat to him. Niall's appearing at WrestleCon, first appearance in 30 years. Yeah, seeing that, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That should be unbelievable. I've seen a picture today, all right, and he's morphing into, I don't know if you picked up on Mars, is he morphing into a stunning Steve Austin or something like that? Seems to have dropped a ton of weight. Face looks chiseled, hair still there somewhat, and he was holding actually a very cool Hasbro that he was signing, so pretty cool. But yeah, that'll be awesome. Really, really cool. He has a new figure. He does indeed have a new figure. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's your Money in the Bank. Let's park that there for the moment. I mean, we'll be bringing you, as it all settles down next week, we'll be bringing you full preview. Don't forget as well, folks, next Wednesday we'll probably have a full preview for Forbidden Door as well, once things are all ironed out there. But speaking of AEW, we're going to quickly move to this. Are we going to get the Summer of Punk? Is this the beginning of the Summer of Punk? AEW Collision this Saturday, launching on TNT, coming to you live from Chicago. CM Punk, Chicago made, in this trios match. This match is going to be excellent. Of course, Punk and FTR versus Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. This is going to be absolutely incredible. And a massive match to launch Collision on TNT. It's amazing how the fallout of the whole row and confrontation and all results in stuff like this, which could be really cool. And of course, this will be the lead in for Forbidden Door, and of course the run up to AEW All In at Wembley. So are we truly now on the way? Are we going to get a Summer of Punk? You can tell by the thumbnail I put up there. Ryback versus Goldberg. Good Lord, I'm not too sure how I feel about that at all. doesn't sit well with me at the moment and stuff like that. It just seems a kind of a weird one, and it's kind of when you look at what you have here in front of you now for Collision on Saturday night, and then you go from there to Goldberg and Ryback and stuff like that. Is that potentially what's going to happen? Niall, what do you think of Kenny not having a match on Dynamite? Do you know what my thoughts is on that, Daz? I'd say that might be related to, I wonder, is he carrying an injury? And they're just being careful with him before Forbidden Door or something like that. That's the only reason I can think about it. I mean, why wouldn't he have a match on Dynamite? I'd say that's probably what it is. I'd say he's probably carrying a knock. And I'd say what they're doing is that they're heading into Forbidden Door, so they want him healthy for that. That's the only thing I can think of. I haven't looked too deep into it, Daz, to be perfectly honest. I don't. I dip in and out of Dynamite and stuff like that as I feel, kind of thing. If there's something interesting in there, I'll go into it. I don't follow it absolutely religiously, but it sounds to me like he's carrying probably a slight niggle or an injury or something like that, and they just want to wrestle him up for Forbidden Door. That would be my thinking on it. Now, the belts. They're launching out these belts now to beat the band new belts. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, folks, on these belts here. I kind of do like the World Heavyweight one. It's really, really nice. And I kind of like what they're doing insofar as they're aligning the belts with the women's ones and the men's one as well, just changing the colours of the straps and stuff like that. So they're keeping that kind of pedigree there, if you like, and stuff like that. Not sure how I feel about the Undisputed one at the moment, where I thought it was going to be a much bigger deal. And when it came out, it was basically similar to the old one, just with a gold backing and stuff like that. But certainly that new World Heavyweight one really, to me, looks the part. I know Ian and the boys at times have come in and thought it's a little bit sort of bloated and stuff like that, but I think it looks really well. And I like the women's one with the white strap as well. It looked really cool. See Rhea there hoisting it up and stuff like that. And Asuka, of course, with Charlotte interfering and Bianca having plenty to say the other night. Be interesting to see how that whole situation evolves as well. But we shall see what happens. Morris, Punk is the biggest draw AEW have. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But there is, when you think about the conflicting things and the information that's coming out there, Morris, if you look this week, we had people coming out that, the announcement of Punk for Collision, which was the worst kept secret on the planet. Let's be honest, it was going to happen, But apparently the talk is it hasn't bumped the ticket sales at all now. Whether that's going to be the case or not, I mean, it's absolutely, it's Chicago, it's CM Punk. Never, the two are just like synergized and wrapped together, aren't they? But I think we are going to get a Summer of Punk, and it'll be interesting to see how it moves on from this as we move into Forbidden Door, as we move into All In, and how it's going to play out and stuff like that. But I think we're going to be in for a real good Summer of Punk, and I think you're going to get people tuning back in. A lot of people sort of up in the air at the moment about this kind of thing. Some people are welcoming back, very happy to have him back. Other people are kind of not too sure, So it depends on what side you sit on, whether you're on the Punk side or the Elite side, who knows. But yeah, it's going to be great to have him back, and that trios match looks like it's going to be absolutely stellar. At the moment, I think you struggle to pick 6 guys to put into that match better than what they've put in there, so pretty good. Really looking forward to seeing Joe in there as well. For me, it's really, really cool as well. It has a real flavour of Ring of Honor in there again, so that's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to it. But yeah, Punk absolutely the biggest draw. More belts equals more dollar merch. Don't I know it, Morris? Don't I know it? I've orders in from people for all these belts. So it should be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, cool. Just trying to get your thoughts on them. Daz, I think the 8-man tag will be a good match tonight in MJF versus Adam Cole, baby. Yeah, the build up to that MJF Adam Cole has been absolutely sensational. MJF, he just cuts it, doesn't he? But I thought Cole was much better with him this time in terms of his responses and stuff like that. It was pretty cool and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some good stuff planned for tonight, so it should be interesting. Well worth checking out Dynamite tonight. MJF and Adam Cole, baby. Ian's in. So SmackDown is now after becoming an undisputed brand. Yeah, well, it more or less was anyway. I think it was that way more or less anyway. They did have the blue Universal, if you remember, over there for a while, which was the undisputed one. So yeah, there's no real change there. Anyway, he's associated with that one now. Looking forward to seeing Jordan Devlin carrying Finn. Interesting. It'd be interesting to see if he gets involved, yeah, because there's been a little kind of messing around and stuff like that, little vignettes and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see where that goes, you know. Right, let's get into some news. We always like getting into some news and stuff like that. We start off with the one. Billy Gunn, Mr. Rass, reveals AEW has reached out to Sean Waltman on a couple of occasions. He was speaking to Sportskeeda on a couple of times, but Sean hasn't decided to come in yet. Either the timing was off or something was off. But I suppose the question really is AEW really a good place for Sean Waltman to be? Or does he need to stay involved in WWE and stuff like that? I know he's over there, and you'd have Sean, you'd have Triple H, you know, and all that kind of connection and stuff like that. But it'd be interesting to see if he got involved in AEW, what way would it go? But I think there's probably more behind that than meets the eye in terms of being reached out a couple of times and not being interested in going in. We know over the last few weeks he was very upset with his dog and stuff like that, having to be put down, I think it was, and also hit him hard and stuff like that. He absolutely loved that dog. If you've been following her from the time he found her, you know. Too many title designs. Yeah, well, that's kind of where I'm coming from. That's why I said now the way they've kind of, you know, they've brought them in line and stuff like that, that the designs are the same, just the straps are different color for the women and the men. I think that's probably a good move as well. So, yeah, absolutely. Too many title designs. Also, Charlotte has been out. Charlotte's great, isn't she? I mean, she looked $1 million there the other night getting into Asuka's face and projecting herself into Bianca's business, as they say, and stuff like that. But she said says the WWE universe should be thanking her instead of complaining. So she just ratchets up the heat all the time. Absolutely excellent. Shades of the old man, really, you know. But excellent stuff. Mick Foley revealed that WWE asked him to return to TV to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker. Well, of course, I mean, you'd expect that to be the case, wouldn't you? You couldn't commemorate that without commemorating the man who was such a pivotal part in it. He was the man who took the bumps and stuff like that, you know. So, yeah, no surprise there. Jim Cornette was also saying that no one else can be the guy in WWE as long as Roman Reigns is around, that Roman is the man. I think that's very clear anyway and stuff like that. A lot of fans at the moment talking though and wanting them maybe a bit more wrestling and a bit more title defenses out of Roman. It's he's taking it from one extreme to the other, really, isn't it? And even Ben, when they were, I was watching the wrestling downstairs with Ben, and he hadn't been watching it a lot, but he's starting to get back into it. But he was saying that, like, you know, Roman is 1,000 days as champion, and he said, "So of course he's 1,000 days as champion. He never fucking wrestles." You know, so it was an interesting comment from a guy who's only getting back into it and stuff like that. So either he's reading the internet or he's going through it and stuff like that. He's going through the dark sides of the rings at the moment, actually, and he said, dare I say, he's enjoying them, which is a tough task. And don't forget, of course, check out last night we did the review for Magnum TA, and we'll have the 3rd episode review coming up next week and stuff like that. And last week we did Chris Candido and Tammy. So if you haven't checked them out, by all means check them out, hit the like, subscribe, all the good stuff that we need to do. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, reveals that one thing he can't stand about modern WWE is the scripted promos. And he went on to say that, like, he's okay with people being given kind of, you know, bullet points or the rounded message of what you have to get across. But it'd be fair if each of the characters in there and the performance did it in kind of their own speak and stuff like that, you know. So interesting from the $1 Million Man there. We spoke about it before, how, you know, for some of the performers in there, it's very, very it's binary and put out in speech that, you know, from looking at it, it's not necessarily their speech or stuff like that. So hats off to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Yeah, and it's something that's been going on for a while. Let's get some water. Serious love in for Kurt Angle at the moment, isn't it? He's like on Charlotte Flair. Like, she's the best wrestler in the world overall. You know, he's just week on, week out, he just can't help himself but talk about Charlotte Flair. He just has this love affection with Charlotte Flair at the moment. That she's the absolute best in the world at the moment. So that we reported on it a few weeks ago that he said like if if it was a Hall of Fame thing and all, he'd be there and all that kind of stuff and all. So pretty cool from Kurt Angle. Paul Heyman was reflecting on CM Punk versus Undertaker, the rivalry from WrestleMania 29. The background to this, of course, Bearer's passing, and remember how much Punk pushed it out there and stuff like that. And how could we forget? Remember the pouring of the ashes out of the urn and all that. And, once you hand the ball to CM Punk, he's going to come up with some serious stuff and he's going to push it right to the edge and stuff like that. And he certainly did. And I remember the build up to this match was really, really good. And we were kind of thinking, is this guy going to be the guy? But Heyman was talking about if Punk won, they would be establishing a megastar for the next 20 years at the time. And he says he was describing the kind of Macho Hogan levels or Rock and Austin. He goes, Punk, if he had went over and taken the streak, probably would have reached John Cena levels and stuff like that and all. And who are we to disagree with Heyman? One of the fabulous minds for the business. Frankie Kazarian was opening up about his departure from AEW. He said that he just needed to move on and stuff like that. That he felt the direction in which the company was going and stuff like that just didn't sit with him at the time, and he just needed out of there and stuff like that. But an interesting interview there from Frankie Kazarian. Absolutely check it out. Interesting to listen to what he had to say. Eno's back in as well. The wife just bought me a lovely pair of combat trousers to go with my Jesse Ventura t-shirt. How could you do that? The big question though, Ian, is have you got time to bleed? That's the one. You would miss HLA at times, yeah. Absolutely. Maurice, you don't miss it. You have other times all over your channel. Daz, do you think they announce more matches tonight for Forbidden Door? I would imagine so, yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of room there for scope and stuff like that. And I reckon, Daz, you'll probably get an answer to the Kenny question you had earlier. That'll come through tonight as well, I'd imagine so. But interesting, definitely well worth a watch. Forbidden Door should be a really, really good show as well, and it'll definitely be better than last year. If you remember last year, they had a lot of problems with travel arrangements, they had a lot of problems with injuries and stuff like that, so it was very unfair on the show last year and stuff like that. So this one, I think they'll probably knock it out of the park. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Hulk Hogan was talking on modern wrestlers and attracting the wrong kind of notice, if you like. He turned around and he said, you got guys that look like they should be bagging my groceries. And it was interesting. I looked at this No DQ put it up, and I looked at No DQ, and I went down through the comments, and the comments were absolutely lit. And he obviously achieved what he wanted to achieve, of course, you know what I mean? Because we only spoke last week on the Chris and Tammy review, where we spoke about how Chris Candido these days would have been absolutely perfect because he was in great shape, looked the part, but wasn't a huge guy, but could move and could wrestle and stuff like that. So this is the flip side of what Hogan's talking about here, of course. But it was an interesting one as well. The comments were, he was being called a racist, this, that, and the other, and, all this kind of stuff. And they were just alluding to everything, and they just poured in on him. And it was like he just went online. He goes, right, I'm just going to open up this door here. And it was absolutely crazy. Connor's in. Connor Crowley, are you doing the Irish match on Friday? I'm not too sure, Connor. I might do a reaction to it, depending on how it goes. I'm not too sure. I'll probably do something on it. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens. Yeah, but should be interesting. Yeah, and thanks for jumping in the chat, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. The Forbidden Door is nothing new in the wrestling business. The things that makes us go, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Morris is in. He's doing a Gibraltar watch along Monday, Connor. Less of that, Morris. Less of that at Gibraltar watch along. I'd rather be in Gibraltar watching along, to be honest. Actually, I'm out in although the sun here is fantastic at the moment. Gibraltar watch along Monday, Connor. Absolutely. Logan Paul. Yeah, Logan Paul was being asked about Bad Bunny the other day and gave us an interesting quote on it. He says, he was on his podcast, he says, "This is what I say to people who are trying to compare me and Bad Bunny in WWE. I wrestled in high school. I did sports and athletics. I am a YouTuber, but I'm an athlete, bro. I was an athlete first. I can still surprise people because I'm a YouTuber, but I was an athlete first. Bunny is a musician, dude. Dude, he has no business being as good as he is, but he comes in there and he crushes it. So big props for Bad Bunny from Logan Paul and stuff like that. And I like that. Logan kind of just gets the business, doesn't he, and stuff like that? Because he kind of like, when you listen to a quote like that, he's saying, "You're not me, but you're very good." It's like a two-sided kind of thing, Um, but interesting, yeah, absolutely. Eno's in the comments there, and Eno's in Dynamo's doesn't. Just home. Hello, pal. How are you, my friend? Yeah, absolutely. What's the last one? During an interview with Maguire on wrestling, WWE producer Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson, offered advice for aspiring wrestlers looking to get noticed. And he says, it's really good if you can do the high moves and all that kind of stuff and all the shiny stuff, let's say. And he says, so long as you can do it and you don't get injured and you don't hurt yourself or your opponent. But he said, I'd rather see intensity and crisp wrestling versus the crazy stuff, because he reckons that's the stuff that will make you stand out, as opposed to, he says, a lot of young people and people starting out in the business think they have to have all these big flashy moves and stuff like that, and they think that that's what will make them stand out. And he says, not necessarily. He says, when we're looking at stuff like that, he says, we're looking for people who are able to perform in a correct kind of way, nice and intense and crisp and stuff like that. So, bit of advice there from TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd, formerly Tyson Kidd. Check that out. Well worth looking at that interview, especially if you are an aspiring pro wrestler coming up and want to do it. Always good to take advice like that on board and stuff like that. Connor's in again. Ireland to win on Monday versus Gibraltar. Jeez, I hope so, Connor. I hope so. Good Lord. I haven't even looked. I must have a look and see what the fitness and the squad and the players available and all that kind of thing is as well. Right, before we get down into some history and stuff like that, I want to talk about this. This is driving me insane. Absolutely driving me insane. This Undertaker One Dead Man show. And I'm the kind of person that if this is what you want to do and this is what you think you should be doing, then that's fine. But the ticket prices for this are just off the scale. Off the scale. And I think it's something I called about 10 years ago. I think it was about 10 years ago. I remember Fozzy were coming over to do a show with Chris Jericho, of course. And they started doing these VIP things. And I think at that stage when you did those VIPs, I think you went and had a meal with the band and obviously got stuff signed and you were able to share the meals. So you're basically paying for their dinner that evening, basically, with your VIP ticket. And I did say at the time, and Morris remembers this and all, we spoke about it, we said, this is a very bad meal for wrestling fans and stuff like that, and they're getting sucked in. And I think at the time, I don't think the VIP was that expensive. I think at the time, it was 100 or 120 euro or something like that. It wasn't something ridiculous, But this one worries me because these shows are selling out. And it's a lot of money, you know what I mean? You're looking at a ticket is £166, and you're looking at a VIP ticket somewhere in the region of £331, plus the booking, stuff like that. And last time we spoke about, toasting drinks on stage and all that kind of stuff being £1,000 or 1,500 or whatever, something stupid, like, what I mean? And people are just throwing money at this, And I do have a view in terms of, if you're going to keep on throwing your money at this, you're creating a problem, because the next time around it's more and more and more and more. And that's not to say anything in relation to the Undertaker and stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I know his fee is quite expensive and stuff like that. He is a legend of the business, but I'm not sure these ticket prices. I'm sure it's a combination of his fee and also what the promoter wants to earn and stuff like that, and that ratchets it up. But I think paying these at a time where we have a cost of living crisis to be thrown, and this doesn't include booking fees probably either, so you could be talking 350 or 180 or something like that, whatever it is. It's a lot of money to be dishing out to shake hands with a guy, get a photo and an autograph. And I think it's becoming a real problem, as Morris says there. Morris in the comments, well, me and Morris talk about these things all the time. And Ian, of course, constantly talk about pro wrestling. And he says, Bell End's buying these is the problem. Yeah, absolutely. That is the problem. The problem is If you keep on purchasing and buying these tickets, the cost is going to go up and up and up and up. And I just want to explain, there is inflation and stuff like that. I understand that. And, there's various other things. And I know the cost of venues goes up and everything has changed since COVID and stuff like that. But I'll give you like a little, just a little sort of comparison. My first ever WrestleMania I went to was WrestleMania 22. I got the silver package for it, went over. There was 8 of us, I think, went over at the time. And I think the silver package at the time was $495. And this was a serious package in terms of they gave you a load of gifts when you got there. You collected your package. When you went to the Hall of Fame, I think it was in the Rosemont Theatre, there was only 2,000 people at it. You got a little medallion leave and you got a Golden Boss program, all this, your t-shirt, whatever they gave us. They just smothered your merchandise, stuff like that. You stayed in a real nice hotel, had breakfast with the stars, loads of different stuff. That same package now, if you're going to say WrestleMania 40, is probably the guts of $2,500. Now, that to me is not inflation. That to me is greed. And it's just, and I would mark that you get less, you get way less in that package than what we got in our package. And I just think we're in danger here of, I think it's really, really unfair if you have a fan who's, say, a huge fan, lifelong fan of The Undertaker. But because of this situation and the cause of this, he will never get the opportunity to do this. And to me, fundamentally, that's wrong. And I don't think that's what pro wrestling is about. And I don't think that's the way it should be. So I do have strong views on it. I know promoters have to try and make money. I know, obviously, Undertaker, now that he's retired, he's on these tours and he has to make a living the way he sees fit and stuff like that. But I think we have to be a bit more realistic on these things. We're in a cost of living crisis. Energy costs are going up. Food costs are going up. Everything, anything you touch any single day is way more expensive than it used to be. Way more expensive. And I think it's important that we highlight these things and we say to people, just when you're doing this, have a think about it, Really, really have a think about it. It's really, really important. Morris, if people want to pay mad money for VIP, fair enough, but the general admission on this event is scandalous. Absolutely. But the VIP is scandalous as well. I mean, they're both scandalous. You know what I mean? When you think about it, you can go to a WrestleCon at WrestleMania. I've gone to a number of them at this stage, and you'll go around, you'll meet most of the legends, for anywhere between, 30 to 60 bucks. And stuff like that. You'll get plenty of time with them. You'll be able to talk to them. They'll sign whatever you want, all that kind of thing. So I don't think we need to be going to this end and stuff like that. There's 4 dates here. They're probably all sold out. But it's massive money. And it's to me, it's just pure greed. And I think unless, as pro wrestling fans and as this community and stuff like that, unless we wise up to this, I think this is going to become a real problem, because eventually the typical wrestling fan out there who works 9 to 5 is just not going to be able to afford to do the kind of things he wants to keep up in terms of being a fan the way he wants and stuff like that. And I think that's really, really sad. I think it's really, really sad when you look at some of the big shows. We've seen the absolutely scandalous handling of the tickets for Money in the Bank as well. Absolutely ridiculous, you know what I mean? And I had a guy on to me today, a guy who chats to me all the time on Instagram. He had a VIP ticket for the Dublin show coming up in 2 weeks or whatever it is. And the VIP ticket for it, I don't know what's involved in it. I presume you get a front row ticket. You get to meet a couple of the wrestlers. I don't think they tell you who you're going to meet. You might get a t-shirt or a teddy bear or a badge or a pin or a backpack or whatever it is. But it's €400. €400. Crazy. Ian's in, it's horses for courses. I think people paying any amount of money to do a meet and greet with the elite is extortion. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Take a piss with the Undertaker for $500. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was $1,000 to drink a shot of piss with him, basically, nearly, So, yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up. Right, we're going to look at a bit of video footage here. I want you to give me your thoughts on it. This came up the other day with Jeff Hardy. So let's take a look at this and give me your thoughts on this.
Still got that raccoon. That's when I came to your house a long time ago. Me and my buddy Joe. You do something. Oh, you do the same thing.
How you doing today, bro? My childhood when I was younger, man. Probably get that all the time. Thank you so much, man.
Up here at this altitude, these pens explode. Oh, you know that. You know a lot about these markers and stuff, so whatever. Up here, push too hard.
Thanks, bro. Just a couple more. Can I get a photo when I'm done, too? Thank you. Last one. Thank you.
Give me your thoughts on this in the chat. This is fucking boiling my blood. Absolutely boiling my blood. First of all, these two guys in this video are absolute bullshitters. And I'm more Jeff Hardy fans than the Man on the Moon. Because if they were fucking Jeff Hardy fans, they'd have more respect for the guy than that. And Jeff Hardy being a nice guy, I've met Jeff Hardy on 2 occasions. Met him when he was in TNA and met him when he was in WWE. He is the nicest, softest soul under the sun that you would meet. Such a nice guy. He's the kind of guy who wouldn't tell guys like that to piss off. What you need guys like that. You need guys like that to meet someone who's an absolute bastard. Maybe a Goldberg or something like that, or a Ryback or something like that. But this was absolutely disgusting. You know where all this stuff is going. Throwing it on the ground like that and stuff, taking the piss out of him. How many pictures did he sign there? About 20, 25? These aren't fans. Oh, you were my childhood hero and all this. Bullshit. The guy getting the stuff signed was probably the same age, and it's full of crap. And Jeff Hardy, just because he's such a nice guy, he didn't even come onto social media to talk about it. Matt, his brother, had a conversation about it the other day on social media and stuff like that. But this is absolutely disgusting. These are not people who represent me or any of you guys in the chat or anything like that. It's absolutely disgusting and deplorable. And I'm a collector. I have loads of memorabilia, loads of merchandise and stuff like that. I would not have the balls to even attempt that. I wouldn't have the balls to attempt to walk up to a wrestler in an airport and do that. That is absolutely disgusting and uncalled for. If you want to walk up and say hello to a guy and stuff like that, these guys are traveling all the time. They're always in pain. They're always working. They're always busy and stuff like that. This is absolutely wrong. How did they even know he was going to be at that airport? This is very, very creepy, very, very weird, and it's absolutely disgusting. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's not good, you know. It's not good at all. Daz, do you think you will turn up at Money in the Bank in the crowd, Niall? Yeah. Interesting. Imagine. Jeez, I don't know. Depends how much they're paying him, Daz. Depends how much they're paying him. It's all about the paper by the sounds of things these days. Morris is in. Absolute wankers. Yeah, absolutely. And Ian, of course, is in. Myself, Ian, and Morris have had, we've got big views on this. This is a joke, and they should be named and shamed. These are the tout scammers that then plaster them all over e-commerce for a buck. Jeff should have told them to piss off. And only because he's a nice guy. Only because he's a nice guy, he wouldn't do it. And that's what Matt said the other day. Absolutely raging when I first saw it. The more I watch it, the more I rage about it. And everyone knows I'm a big collector of pro wrestling stuff. I would not do that. But you know how you fix this, folks? You stop buying this stuff off these people. And when you come out as wrestlers, if people want something signed, they get one thing signed and then get a picture if they want. And that's only if you've time to do it and be nice. And then get told, fuck off. Very simple as that, And that's the way that you fix that. Because you can be guaranteed, as Ian said, 90%, if not all of that stuff, is framed up and on a site somewhere now being sold. And this childhood, lifelong Jeff Hardy fan, bullshit. Not having it. Let's get into some history, what this business was built on. Not sitting outside an airport with 28 by 10s like a schmuck with a load of Sharpies getting stuff signed. Disgraceful. 1987, the final of a tournament to crown the first ever IWGP heavyweight champion was held in Tokyo, Japan. Antonio Inoki defeated Masa Saito to win the title and held it for 325 days. 1991, WCW Clash of the Champions 15 took place at the Civic Auditorium in Knoxville, Tennessee. The main event saw Ric Flair defeat beautiful Bobby Eaton to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in a 2 out of 3 falls match. 2005, WWE presented, this is a good one. It's a good one. WWE presented the iconic ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. Sandman's Metallica entrance, of course, and the Dudleys versus Sandman and Dreamer in the main event. Who could forget that Sandman entrance? I went back and looked at it again the other day, and it was just crazy. And the crap and the shit he was giving JBL up on the balcony and all was absolutely outstanding. And to get that enter Sandman, that Metallica music and all was absolutely electric. Yeah, Ian, absolutely stalking. Absolutely stalking, and we've seen it. We've seen stuff going on with Liv Morgan. We've seen it with Rhea Ripley. We've seen it now with Jeff Hardy, and and I'm sure most of the other wrestlers are dealing with this on a daily basis as well. But this is just scalpers and scandalous between ticket prices and Ticketmaster and these one-man shows and all this kind of crap. And come see my podcast live and all. It's getting out of hand. Drives me insane. 2014, WWE announced the release of a dozen performers, including 2, Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, who would return to the company and win the World Championship in future years. I think we spoke about this on a number of podcasts back, that dark, whatever I think it was called, was it Black Tuesday or something like that, or whatever it was when they called it. They released all these performers. 1982, the High Chief Peter Maivia, the grandfather of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, passed away at the age of 45 after a lung cancer battle. 45, no age to pass away. Ian's in. I wouldn't do that. I would literally just ask to shake the hand and pay respects, proper order and proper manners. Absolutely. Then WWE took the piss and buried and bashed ECW. Of course, yeah, we remember that. Was it a battle royal or something like that? And JBL in the corner with the blue meanie, and he beat the absolute living shit out, and it had to be sorted out after the fact and stuff like that and all. And yeah, I'd be a close enough friend now. I've spoken a number of times to Brian, the blue meanie, and stuff like that and all. And I've had the respect to never talk to him about it and stuff like that. But I think one day I'll probably ask him, and maybe he'll be able to have a chat about it. We shall see. Of course, you have to remember ECW. Remember seeing the throwing the shirt out to the crowd, and the crowd kept on throwing the shirt back in and all. That was really cool. Really ECW stuff, of course. Yeah. 2009, Vince McMahon announces that he sold Monday Night Raw to Donald Trump. If you remember this storyline, because McMahon hadn't made it clear, it was just a storyline. The WWE stock on the stock exchange went from $13.13 a share down to $12.60 within a day of the announcement, and would carry on falling for the rest of the week until the company came out and made it clear that it was only a storyline, that it wasn't real. But there was I remember at the time there was a huge melee about this. There was millions of dollars being wiped off the value of the company and stuff like that, because the storyline hadn't been put out there that it was a storyline. They thought it was actually legit. So funny at the time. 1985, 2 debuts were made on WWF TV taping in Poughkeepsie, New York. Terry Funk and the Macho Man Randy Savage both made their debuts in 1985 on the WWF TV tapings this week. What careers they had, Terry Funk and the Macho Man Randy Savage. That's it this week, folks, for news. In terms of notable birthdays, let's get into this. First one up is 1971, Mark Henry. Can't believe he's only a year older than me. That's mad. Met him when I was over at WrestleMania 38. Nice guy to me. Hector Garza, 1969. Of course, the great Jerry Lynn, 1963. Tiger Mask, 1976. Jungle Boy celebrates his birthday this week, of course, 1997. Only a young lad. Bailey, 1989, celebrates her birthday. Chuck Palumbo, 1971. Who could we forget? Billy and Chuck. Brad Armstrong, 1961. And 1958 for Scott Norton. And of course, a man we were just talking about celebrates his birthday this week. Now, Dowdy's having a can. 1963, the Sandman, of course. And we finish it up with the one and only 1959, the Ultimate Warrior. It's his birthday this week. Rest in peace, Warrior. That's it, folks. Thanks for joining me as always. I know the weather's beautiful out there, so it's hard to follow the podcast, especially when they're live. But if you're not following it when it's live, of course, if you're catching it on the replay, hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, growing all the time. Really appreciate it. I'm going to be bringing you tons of this wrestling content over the summer and on. along with the football and stuff like that. I will be back 9:15. I'm on Morris's channel. We have an interview lined up there. Morris asked me to come along, so I'm looking forward to being a guest on the show. And then tomorrow, 2:00, I think I have a Liverpool update podcast. Not sure whether I'll be able to bring that. I might try and bring it from the garden if I can get a good connection on the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. The weather's too nice to be sitting inside. Tomorrow night, 9:00, myself and Darren will be on your screens discussing the two trebles. We're also going to be discussing the fixture list that's releasing tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see how those number of fixtures go and who we get to play first and all that, how it'll pan out. And we're also going to be talking transfers as well, because the transfer window kicked the doors off the hinges today. Number of transfers announced, but we're going to be talking about the transfer window tomorrow and what teams are looking to do, what business may happen. Then Friday, busy times. I'm on Henry's channel, Henry Ray Baker. He's having me on. I'm going to be the first guest on, starting on a number of interviews. He's going to do interviewing football fans and talking. We're going to have a good chat on Friday night. Love being on Henry's channel and stuff like that. And that's it for this week, as far as I know. Don't forget, of course, next week we'll be back, of course, with another episode of Dark Side of the Ring, more wrestling update. We'll give a full preview for Forbidden Door. We'll be back. Don't forget, every morning. Hope you're checking out the Morning Brew, all the latest football news and transfers and all that kind of stuff. So content coming at you thick and fast, even though the season is down. Eno's in, great show, really appreciate it. Daz, when's Hogan's and Sting's birthday? No, I'm not too sure, Daz. I don't have it. I know, was it Hogan's or Sting's last week or the week before? Sting's one sounds familiar. I think Sting's was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I can remember. And Ian's in, of course, with Ian's one, as we are now over and out, of course we are. Don't forget, folks, check out Dynamo's Dozen. Check out Morris's Cheap Reproductions podcast. Check out all the channels in the chat and stuff like that. And, of course, the one that you're watching, of course, subscribe, bell notification, and drop a like. And we'll talk to you again real soon.